Hello everybody and welcome to Fight News Now Extra. I'm John Pollock. We've got John Ramdine and Robin Black coming up. In today's headlines, we are going to be hearing from UFC 184 headliner Cat Zingano. As well, we will touch upon the fight that was supposed to happen in 2008. It's going to happen in 2015 in Bellator. Plus, another fighter hurt and out of a Brazilian Fight Night card. Josh Thompson is injured and off of the UFC's Fight Night card on March the 21st in Rio de Janeiro, where he was scheduled to fight Gilbert Burns. The lightweight has yet to be replaced on the show, which is headlined by welterweights Damian Maia and Ryan LaFleur. Bellator has confirmed that Kevin Ferguson, aka Kimbo Slice, will make his Bellator debut against 51-year-old Ken Shamrock on June the 20th at the Scott Trade Center in St. Louis, Missouri. The fight was first reported by ESPN and later confirmed by the promotion. The two were scheduled to fight in October 2008 on what turned out to be the final Elite XC card. Shamrock was rolling around the day of the fight and cut himself, which forced him off the show and Seth Petrozelli to step in, who went on to defeat Ferguson. And this Saturday night, Ronda Rousey will make her latest defense of her women's bantamweight championship. She will meet the undefeated Cat Zingano, who caught up with myself and Robin Black earlier this week to talk about the biggest fight of her pro career.
I look at Ronda and I'm not trying to demystify her. She is an excellent fighter, and to me, I look across and I see someone with two arms and two legs just like me, and it's about going out there and implementing will and style and routine. I think that, to me, we're equals. In my mind, I'm the best in the world, and she's second best, and I have a lot of respect for her for that.
And we look ahead Saturday night. It is our live preview show coming at you 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Robin Black, John Ramdine, and myself getting you set for UFC 184. The prelim fights happening on TSN2 in Canada with 4 fights coming your way, and then the pay-per-view card 10 p.m. Eastern featuring the UFC debut of Holly Holm, and Ronda Rousey defends the bantamweight title against Cat Zingano, who we just heard from. Robin, we had a chance to chat with Cat Zingano earlier this week. Seemed very calm going into this fight, but you have to imagine just the whole mental side of this fight for her. This was a fight she has been focused on, this woman, for 2 years at this point, had to deal with so much adversity outside of the cage, and now this title fight finally coming her way on Saturday night.
Yeah, what's interesting about it is that she seems so confident that she's going to be the girl that defeats Ronda Rousey. She says she looks at Ronda Rousey as the #2 female bantamweight in the world because of her confidence. She says she's going to be physically imposing. There's nothing that Ronda's going to surprise her with on the ground. And I think because of that, that's why she goes into this fight kind of feeling it that she's going to become the new champion.
Yeah, I liked speaking to her. I like her. You just get this feeling she's just a really cool person, really good at jiu-jitsu, really good fighter, mother, all that stuff. So you like her. You want her to do well. But when I hear somebody say to me, I'm just going to go in there and trust my body. I'm going to be well-trained and trust my body and trust my mind. Often that is a very, very good thing to hear from a fighter going into a fight. However, we've seen her be a slow starter, and against Amanda Nunes, really just went out there and crapped the bed. And you do that against Ronda Rousey, the whole thing is over before it begins. I don't love that attitude out of her. I would love to hear her say, I'm going in with some footwork. I have a strategy that I've built to handle Ronda Rousey, particularly in those first few minutes. That's what me, personally, I would like to hear. Instead, don't worry, I got this. I feel good. I don't know. I don't know if that's going to be enough.
Where is the expectation level for Holly Holm? Raquel Pennington is, a level above any woman that Holly Holm has fought in mixed martial arts. There's certainly a lot of hype attached to Holly Holm, but a lot of that comes from her background in boxing, and she is going to be facing somebody who does have a submission game in Raquel Pennington. There's so much focus on this could be the next challenger for Ronda Rousey. Are we somewhat overlooking Raquel Pennington, who is a massive underdog in this fight?
Yeah, I think because of her UFC experience, but Holly Holm, she's well-trained. She knows what it takes to become a champion. So when you look at those two factors, I mean, it really, of course, it depends on what happens when the cage door closes, because we've heard fighters say in the past, competing on the small shows in comparison to the UFC, it's just not the same thing. The bright lights of the UFC, the octagon shock, so to speak, is a real thing, and it just comes down to how Holly Holm deals with it. But I have a feeling she's going to be fine.
I definitely see her as a favorite, but when you see some of these lines that, minus 900 favorite, especially after last Sunday, I think that's insane.
Yeah, lines are a very interesting one because some of these guys, the top top guys have people in gyms that they trust over time saying, listen, man, she's killing people. Other guys are like, well, this person did this, and it's like anything else. There's tomato can line makers just like there's tomato can journalists and so forth. Some people are informed, some people aren't. So you can't necessarily trust this stuff. It is interesting, though, one, Octagon Shock, this woman has fought for titles in different weight classes all around the world. She's headlined massive events in Albuquerque and all over the place, so she's good there. I don't know. She's also been training mixed martial arts since 2001. We focus on her boxing. She loves Coach Mike Winkeljohn. We spoke to her earlier this week, man. She goes on about that relationship and the relationship between fighter and coach is an amazing one, and it's a really fascinating one. And she goes on about that. She's been in that room at Jackson Winkeljohn's for 14 years. So I think she knows how to play on the mat. She knows how to kickbox. She knows how to wrestle.
Let's touch on the fight everyone is now discussing. Kimbo Slice and Ken Shamrock, a fight we were teased with right up until the day of the fight for the final Elite XC show in 2008. Now we fast forward to 2015. This one's going to happen on June the 20th. I will say I have concern for a 51-year-old Ken Shamrock fighting anybody at this stage of the game. But this is clearly, Bellator is not being subtle at all in terms of what they are out to get, and this style of matchmaking, it shouldn't come to any surprise by people that this option was there and they went with it.
Yeah, and what's interesting, you know, you're going to have a lot of people out there saying, you know, this fight doesn't make sense. Ken Shamrock's over the hill. And I've already read it. This said, this is absolutely ridiculous, but I'm tuning in to watch it because it's a freak show fight. And I think that's really...
The public voted with Tito Ortiz
yeah.
and Stephan Bonner, and that is what they are following, is what are people going to tune into? This is the kind of fight that I have no doubt is going to be very successful on Spike TV.
Yeah.
But there is, like, at the end of the day, this is a legitimate fight. And I look at Ken Shamrock, and it's 2015.
Yeah, and this might surprise my friends, but I kind of like it. I'm definitely in favor of Ken fighting if that's what he wants to do. You know, I'm well documented going on record that if fighters want to keep fighting, they can. I'm a fan of Ken's. I'm building a piece that looks at some of the classic stuff for our preview show on Saturday night. Matt Locke and Cody and a lot of the guys are helping us. We're looking at all this old school stuff. And you look at Ken, this man's earned the right to, whether he wants to fight the king of the travelers or the king of YouTube fighting, he gets the right to choose if he wants to do it.
And really a fraction of the outrage compared to Ortiz Bonner amongst fans when this one was announced. I think they understand the game here. We have more of Fight News Now Extra, and don't miss our preview show coming up Saturday night, 7 p.m. Eastern, going into UFC 184.